Hello, welcome. This is Ms. Lisa here again with a little music lesson and a big Bible lesson. So get out your drums and your shakers, and we're going to practice that thing again where we do that pattern that we know. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. So we're going to do that 2 times. Then we're going to count to 4 2 times or count to 8. And that'll be whatever you want to play. It doesn't have to match mine at all. And I'm going to play too, and mine probably won't match yours, and that's okay. But then we're going to end on that 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Okay, are you ready? 2 times, and then whatever we want for 8 beats, and then 1 time. Ready, and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3. Now do your own thing. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Oh look, I put them together. You could do that. Oh, I didn't finish. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. I forgot to do the last one. So our pattern we did, we'll call it A, where we go 1 and 2 and 3, 4. So we went A, B, B, A. I'll write that out for you so you guys can understand. Okay, do you remember? No, let's do that next time. Let's do this time. I am going to introduce a new kind of note, and this is called a half note. And remember, our quarter notes were, no, that's not it. Our quarter notes were 1 sound on the beat. Our 2/8 notes were 2 sounds on the beat. And that squiggly thing was called a rest, no sounds on the beat. Well, this is different. This sound goes across 2 beats. Look how they're connected there. So, and the way you say this in your tas is ta, ta. Ooh, look, one looks like it's upside down. You know, notes can go one way and they can also go the other. They just have to have, if they go up, their stems are on the right. If they go down, their stems are on the left. This is called the note head, and this is called the stem. And if I took that off and turned it this way, it would look just like that one. So there's our new note, a half note. 1 sound across 2 beats. 1 sound across 2 beats. Okay, let's practice this real quick. I don't think we've done this one before. And this has different rhythms. So let me put it close so you can see them. Now these are our tas and tatis that came back. I have to look, it's hard to see in the. So this goes ta, ti, ta. Remember that? That's our rest. And this one goes ta, 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 ti, ta. Do that again. Ta, 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 ti, ta. Now this one goes ta, ti, ta, ta, ti, ta. I bet you guys are good at these now. Ooh, look at all these tatis now. Ta, ti, ta, ti, ta, ti, ta. And then here's this one. Oh, there's 2 rests, so we have to be quiet at first. Ta, ti, ta. And then this one, oh, this one has that new kind of note, the half note. And those half, this one is at the end of the set, and this one's at the beginning. And remember, we say those ta, okay, because we have to put the 1 sound over the 2 beats. So here we go. Ta, ta, ta. Good. And here's that one at the beginning. Ta, ta, ti, ta. Good. We got lots of rhythm practice today. So let's take that down, and we'll keep talking about those half notes. Half notes are fun. Okay, let's start our day in prayer. Our lesson in prayer. Father, Mother, beloved one, please help us learn today about the things you want us to know, about what's important in our lives and in our stories. We're living our stories right now. Just help us walk through our stories in the best way that we can. We thank you for all that you've given us, family, friends, teachers, education. We just praise you for all that. And please help people who don't have enough food or enough of the things they need to live. Please help them, Lord. In your precious holy names. Amen. Okay. Today, we have a great story, and it's for a time called Epiphany. And Epiphany is when we celebrate these men that came to visit Jesus when he was very young. Now, probably he wasn't still in the barn, because, after all the registering, remember, that they all had to do, a bunch of people went home. She had just had a baby, and I'm sure Joseph wanted her to rest. So it wasn't so crowded, so they found a house where they could live. And the night Jesus was born, this bright star appeared. And these men, who were from a place called Persia, these men, we call them wise men or the Magi, they saw this new star, because they were like our scientists today that are called astronomers, and they look at the sky and watch the sky. Well, these men watched the sky too, and they saw a super bright star. And I don't know how they figured it out, but they knew that they had to go find something that was close to that star. So I'm sure they packed up all their clothes they needed for a long time, because it took a long time to travel back then. And I bet they took servants with them. And they started traveling from the east, and they went west. So, and they were on camels. That's how rich people rode. Remember, Jesus' mom rode in on a donkey. But these guys had camels and servants, and so they got all ready for a big long trip, and they followed that star. Well, as soon as they went to Jerusalem. As soon as they got to Jerusalem, they went to King Herod, and they bowed to him. He was a king. They were showing respect, and he said, "What do you want?" And they said, "Well, we saw a star in the east, and we have followed it, and there's a king. The king of the Jews is under that star." Well, Herod got really nervous, because he was the king. He didn't want anybody else to be king. So he sent him away, and then he called all his wise men, all the smart people that he had surrounded himself with, and he said, What are these men talking about? We don't know what these men are talking about. He said he didn't know. So his wise men said, well, it's written in the Jewish scriptures that there'll be a king born. And so they told him all the stuff that they had heard from the Bible, and he said, or from the Hebrew scriptures, and he said, okay, call those men back. And he said his wise men had told him that the babe was going to be found in Bethlehem. And so he told them, and then he said, okay, when you find him, you go first and find him. And when you find him, you come back and tell me. He didn't sound like a very nice guy, but they went to Bethlehem, and they were listening to him. And he said, I want to worship him too. So make sure you come back and tell me about it. Well, they followed the star to the house where baby Jesus was. He wasn't, maybe, we don't know how old he was, but he wasn't an infant anymore. He was a little older. And they brought presents for him. And that's where we get the idea to give presents at Christmas. But they only brought 3 presents, but they were very, very expensive presents. And that's why people think there were 3 wise men. There were probably more. But they only brought 3 gifts. Well, one was gold. And gold is gold rings and gold jewelry. It was a precious metal back then, just like it is today. But back then, when you gave someone gold, they were usually a king, okay? So they understood that he was the king. And then they brought these other things. One was called frankincense, and it's sap from a tree that grows in that area. And when they had that, they would mix it with the oil. Remember when Samuel anointed David to be the king, and he used oil? Well, it could have been oil of frankincense or olive oil. They used olive oil for everything, but they might have put frankincense in it. So that used to go in those when they would anoint people that they were the next king. And then there was this other smelly thing, which was also the sap from a tree, and it was called myrrh. And what they used myrrh mostly for was for when people died. They would wrap them up in cloths, and they would put myrrh all over the body so it wouldn't smell so bad. So this doesn't say it in the Bible, but the gifts they think were gold, because he was a king and a great leader, and frankincense was meant to be prayer. Some churches still do that. They burn incense. Maybe your parents have burned some, and it floats up, and that's like prayer. And then the myrrh was like prophesying that Jesus was going to have to die. And she did, but it had a very happy ending. So come back for that one. Well, God sent another angel. He sent a lot of angels during his son's birth. And she sent a lot of angels. And they gave one of these Magi a dream and told him, don't go back and tell Herod where the baby is, because he wants to destroy the baby and hurt the baby. So they packed everything up. It doesn't tell us how long they stayed. And they went back to where they came from in the east. And they went on a different road so that they wouldn't have to face Herod. So they never went back and told him. Well, here comes another angel to Joseph, Jesus's earthly father, and told him in a dream that you better get up right now, take Mary and the child, and go to Egypt. So they went from, we think, Bethlehem to Egypt. And they had to hide there until King Herod had died and passed away. And then they went home to where Jesus grew up in a town called Nazareth. Isn't that cool? Boy, a lot of things happened around Jesus' birth. Okay, let's work on our Second Testament. And I got tired of singing the same notes, so I added the next one. And down here that's going to be read are going to be the epistles written by an apostle named Paul. And I'll tell you about apostles later. Okay, so this one goes Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, and Romans. Finally, we get to go up a little. Matthew, Mark, Luke. Whoops, I moved it. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, and Romans. Okay, we're going to learn that. It's going to be a lot easier to learn these than it was to learn the First Testament, the Hebrew Scriptures, because it's a shorter book. Remember the the Old Testament, the Hebrew Scriptures is about that big, and the New Testament or Second Testament is only about that big. So, well, I hope you learned some great things about this person named Jesus, because he is very, very important in our lives. And we'll talk to you more about that as we go. Let's sing our song, My God is So Big. I don't think we've sung that in a long time. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. My God can make everything new. The mountains are his, the rivers are his, the stars are his handiwork too. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do for you and you and you and you and me. Here's our scripture for today. So here's our old way of doing it. I decided to do both because I really like the pictures. So for today, where the Magi came to worship Jesus, I put a big star. And that's the star they were following. And the scripture I've chosen is from Matthew. Oh, you know what? All these are about Jesus. So you notice we're staying in the Gospels, the good news, because that's about Jesus. So here, when the Magi came, they said, we saw his star in the east and have come to worship him. Matthew 2:2b. And remember, the B means I only put half the scripture. So, and if you would rather do it this way and just write the words and not have the pictures, it's in there too. And I wrote Magi above it so that we would know what story it came from. Well, I hope you have a wonderful time, and I pray that you take these things and put them in your heart so that we can try to be like Jesus. We're never going to be perfect like Jesus, but Jesus was full of wisdom, and he learned and got smart. He was full of love and all those things. So all these things that we see Jesus is what we try to be. And Jesus will always be perfect and way above us, but we can keep trying. Okay? See you next time.